This video is brought to you by Loot Crate, the monthly subscription service for epic Geek and Gamer items and pop culture gear. Can I just say, I've watched the trailer for Jessica Jones at least 400 times. It looks fantastic, and David Tennant as Killgrave is genuinely terrifying. And I think a big reason for that, aside from his obsessive stalker tendencies, is his ability to get into people's minds and make them do things they wouldn't otherwise do. Thankfully, that kind of power can't exist in real life. Can it? You want to stick around to find out. Welcome to Comic Misconceptions, I'm Scott, and Netflix is set to premiere Jessica Jones this weekend, which means I obviously have not seen it yet. So, if you are watching this video in the future after the show has premiered, just know that this was recorded before then. Any speculations I make about the show, especially in regards to David Tennant's character Zebediah Kilgrave, aka Purple Man, will be just that, speculations based off the trailer and nothing else. But holy cow, what a trailer! Killgrave looks to be a super creepy villain, someone who is a lot different than the villains we've seen in the MCU so far. Sure, we've had some mind control stuff in the Avengers and even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but this is on a whole new level. For those of you who aren't familiar with the character, which shouldn't be a lot of you since I'm sure just about every other comic book channel has probably made videos about him, Purple Man, aka Killgrave with one L in the show but two L's in the comic for some reason, is a former spy with purple skin who has an interesting ability. He emits pheromones that can be absorbed either through skin contact or via inhalation. These pheromones allow Killgrave to control his victims with simple verbal suggestion. As they say in the trailer, he has the power of mind control. And while it's true that there are many things out there that can influence our actions and behavior, like color, weather, music, and so on, brainwashing mind control is very theoretical and was even rejected in 1987 by the American Psychological Association, calling it, quote, unscientific and, quote, flawed to the point of being almost ridiculous. Still, there is a kind of mind control that is fairly well documented and puts its subjects in a highly suggestible trance-like state that we've seen from the Jessica Jones trailers. Hypnosis. I know, Jessica specifically says not once but twice that Killgrave's power isn't hypnosis. But it's really, really close. So close that I feel like it would be a missed opportunity not to at least talk about it. And while Jessica has had a lot of exposure to Purple Man's powers, who's to say that she knows every detail about how it exactly works? It's possible that there could be at least some hypnotic techniques behind Killgrave's powers that allow him to be as effective as he is. But what exactly is hypnosis? Simply put, hypnosis is a trance state wherein the subject is relaxed and their imagination is heightened, but most importantly, the subject is tremendously suggestible. It's a bit of a misnomer though. The word hypnosis was coined by 19th century Scottish surgeon named James Braid and is derived from the Greek hypnos, which means to sleep. However, subjects in a hypnotic trance won't actually be asleep. In fact, they're hyper alert. So how does hypnosis work? And can someone like Killgrave hypnotize people into doing horrible things that they wouldn't otherwise do, even endangering their own lives or the lives of other people? Well, for starters, we don't really know exactly how hypnosis works, but unlike mind control, hypnosis is generally recognized as valid. The predominant school of thought of how it works has to deal with a person's conscious mind and their subconscious mind. Your conscious mind is all of the thoughts that you are aware of, things that you are explicitly focusing on, but your subconscious mind is all the behind-the-scenes stuff that happens in your brain. It's constantly working through problems and automating tasks in the background, so you don't have to devote your attention to every little thing that you do. Things like which shoe to put on first, or how to hold a spoon correctly. These aren't things that you need to consciously devote your focus on. You just do it. Your subconscious mind takes over so that your conscious mind can focus on the tasks that do deserve your attention, like hitting that thumbs up button. Your subconscious is also responsible for a lot of the problem solving that you do. When you have those eureka moments and you get a great idea seemingly out of nowhere, that happens because your subconscious already worked it all out and simply forwarded that to your conscious mind for approval. And that's kind of the relationship between the two minds. The conscious mind works as a sort of filter to the subconscious mind, which does most of the actual thinking. The theory behind hypnosis, and again, it is just a theory, is that hypnotists can subdue a subject's conscious mind. It gets rid of that mental filter and targets the subconscious directly. And without those brakes that your conscious mind puts in place, the subject is left with their subconscious mind at the driver's seat, leaving them feeling much more creative and impulsive. Any suggestions made by the hypnotist seem as though they are your own original ideas, so you automatically act on them. And this is exactly how Purple Man's powers are reflected in the comics. Jessica specifically states that Kilgrave's commands don't feel any different in your head than if you think it yourself. In fact, it not only feels the same, it actually feels better because the command is pure, it's strong, it's there, loud and clear. This lines up perfectly with the leading theory behind hypnosis. Hypnotists can tap into your subconscious, suggest commands, and you spring into action automatically. You're aware of what you're doing, but your conscious mind isn't around to inhibit your thoughts and actions. You just go with it because it feels like something you genuinely want to do. And that is frightening to me. If you're wondering how to hypnotize your own friends, you lunatic, there are a few methods. The most well-known is probably that thing you've seen where the hypnotist swings some kind of pendulum in front of a subject's face and tells them to focus on it and nothing else. And because they're focusing so intimately on that one object, they tune out all other stimuli around them, which allows the hypnotist to lull them into the trance. This is called hypnotic gaze induction, and it does actually work, but it's not used much these days. The most common and effective method used today is all about progressive relaxation. The hypnotist speaks to a subject in a slow and soothing tone to gradually relax them into hypnosis. However, as this method implies, it's all about progressive relaxation. It doesn't happen all at once. It can take quite a while for it to take effect. Kilgrave's powers seemingly take hold instantly, so he's clearly got something else up his sleeve. In the comics, Purple Man uses unique pheromones that produce psychoactive chemicals which allow him to get into people's heads. Pheromones that Jessica Jones says induce a monomania, or an obsessive, exaggerated fixation with one thing. Remember how that fixed gaze concept works? A subject intensely focuses on one object, typically a pendulum of some kind, to the exclusion of everything else, as the hypnotist talks to them in a low, soothing tone, causing them to enter a relaxed and highly suggestible state. Notice how in both the comics and in the show trailer, Kilgrave's victims cannot seem to take their eyes off of him. They don't even blink, they're so fixated. He doesn't need any kind of object to swing in front of people's faces because thanks to his pheromones, he is that object. Alrighty, things are looking pretty good for Purple Man essentially being a skilled and chemically enhanced hypnotist. However, there are quite a few important limits to what hypnosis can achieve. For starters, you can only hypnotize people if they meet certain criteria. They kind of need to want to be hypnotized in the first place. Not only that, but they need to genuinely believe that they can be hypnotized. Lastly, but certainly not least, the subject has to be relaxed, or at least comfortable. And all of that would make it really hard for Kilgrave to do the kinds of things that he does. Also, hypnosis doesn't make a subject 100% completely submissive. Two big key things that remain out of the hypnotist's control are the subject's personal sense of morality and safety. Coincidentally, David Tennant, who is playing Killgrave in the Jessica Jones show, once had a small role in a little-known show called Doctor Who, where he said this.
You can hypnotize someone to walk like a chicken or sing like Elvis. You can't hypnotize them to death. Survival instinct's too strong.
That's actually pretty true. Kudos, Doctor Who, for all the very confusing science fiction you throw about. You actually nailed this one. This is brought up in the comics as well, with the general rule being that a hypnotist can't make you do anything you don't already want to do. So even if Kilgrave was an incredibly influential hypnotist, he still could never make this person jump, or make Trish shoot herself, or any of the other terrible things he will presumably do throughout the series. That's not to mention the awful things he put Jessica Jones through in the comics, like sending her to kill Daredevil, or the other truly evil things that he's done. Of course, you could always just say that Kilgrave's pheromones break through all of these limiting factors. That's what Jessica implies when she says that he has the power to overpower people's wills. Still though, even though Jessica makes it explicitly clear that Purple Man's power isn't hypnosis, based on what we've seen in the comics and in the Netflix series, I don't think the pheromones can receive 100% of the credit here. Purple Man is clearly using hypnotic induction techniques to put his victims in a trance state, and the way that his powers work mimics how hypnosis affects our subconscious mind. His comic book pheromones are simply the catalyst that take things to the extreme, and make Zebediah Kilgrave an unbelievably powerful and menacing villain. What do you guys think? Is Purple Man using hypnotism alongside his pheromones to control people's minds, or is it purely the psychoactive pheromones and hypnotism doesn't play a role at all? Have you ever been hypnotized? I'd actually really like to know what that experience is like.
I want to leave your comments down below.
And as I mentioned at the beginning, this video is brought to you by Loot Crate, the monthly service that brings you geeky and gamer goodies right to your doorstep. November's crate is combat themed, with items from Fallout 4, Capcom, Blizzard, and The Hunger Games. So tighten those bandanas, string that bow, and head to lootcrate.com/nerdsync and use the code NerdSync. You can save 10% off of your crate because we care about you. You do not want to miss out on this crate because after the 19th of November, it'll be too late. That's tomorrow. Or today if you're watching this video tomorrow. Or it already happened and you did miss it. I told you not to miss it. Again, that's lootcrate.com/nerdsync and use the coupon code NerdSync. We couldn't have made it any easier for you. And if you liked this video, you might like this other one about whether or not Batman actually remembers the death of his parents. It has seriously changed the way that I think about my own memory, so only click on it if you want your mind to be blown. If you want something different, click here to watch this one about the science behind Fantastic Four. It's about how cosmic rays actually affect us. Click that eye icon in the corner to check them all out. And if this is your first time hanging out with us here at NerdSync, hit that big sexy subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the new videos that we make for you every week that ask questions and make learning a little bit more accessible through the amazing world of comics. Once again, I'm Scott, and normally I'd see you right here on Friday for another video, but I'm definitely gonna be binge watching Jessica Jones all weekend. See ya.